To have that pulled, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Oh, second.
Okay, it's been so moved and properly second. All in favor? All right, the consent agenda is approved unanimously. Item G1.
Consideration of a request to purchase Taser Axon Flex cameras for officer use as part of a transition from in-car cameras to body-worn cameras.
Yeah. I think item G1 is, while she's getting her paperwork together, item G1 is a status report on police districts. Mr. City Manager, who will be giving that report? Mr. Turner.
Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, it will be a brief report, but at your places you'll see a map that depicts the police districts and the 3 areas that the council authorized staff to look inside of for specific sites for police districts. The staff, as you know, has already identified the Lucia site for District 200. In fact, the City Council authorized the pursuit of that site sometime back and directed staff to negotiate with the property owner, and the Finance Committee just approved an item for the purchase of that property at the appraised value. The next sites that we're looking at are in the North District, the 100 District, and that will be somewhere in the North Point Boulevard area. We'll probably bring you something in closed session very soon for you to consider a potential site there. We are still working on potential sites for the 300 District over on the west side of town. We don't have a specific area yet, but we're looking inside the circle that you have there. And we will bring something to committee into council through closed session in all probability whenever we have a specific site to recommend for you there. The game plan going forward is to use the money from the Public Safety Projects account to acquire these properties and to do the preliminary design on the properties so that if or when the bond referendum is approved, that includes the construction money for the police districts, then we will be ready to go and have the design already done with existing city money. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
I don't want to have a question.
Councilman Burke.
I need to address this to the city manager. When we looked at and this is indirect.
Yes, ma'am.
When we looked at doing the Al Beatty's building, we did what I consider a poor job for a finished product. It is important if we have this as a training center. When you go by paper, I've said to Chief Roundtree, it seems to me, and I've said to the city manager as well, that if you go to work, I don't care how many hours you work, then where you're working, you will make it look better. Papers all around the lot. If we would bring visitors in, I don't see how some of the police enjoy driving and riding in there, and firemen too, because it's for both. It is really really sort of shameful. Windows, and this was formerly in the East Ward. It's now due to relocation in the Northeast Ward, but it's a concern for all of us, Mr. Chairman. And city manager has been very positive about what can be done and how they're going to do something about it. And I think the public needs to know that we are committed, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Councilmember Burke. We are working right now, our Property Maintenance Division, on work to I think, paint the windows, I believe. We don't want to put anything permanent in there until we do the renovation of the second floor, but we're going to paint the windows and improve the appearance. The other thing that we are requesting that we do is with out of that $1.8 million public safety project budget, we want to go ahead this spring and summer and do the design for the second floor upfit of Beatty, because Beatty also is in the bond referendum. There are several moving pieces, as you know. In order to ultimately renovate the public safety center, we have to move patrol into the districts and renovate the rest of the Beatty Center. So you will see some quick, immediate improvements over there, and then over the next year, some major improvements.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Thank you, Mr. Crone.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Montgomery.
I know it was stated that the areas and locations here that they would be acquired in anticipation of the bond. And just, I know there was an item that we approved on Finance Committee we didn't discuss, but I think it was tied particularly to the discussion with the county and those properties shifting, which I think there's going to be $1.8 million that would be.
That's the source for this, yes.
Correct.
Sir.
Okay, so I just wanted to at least make that comment.
Right. Is there anyone else? I just want to say before we move forward to the next item, I'm very excited that this particular Public Safety Committee has taken a direction to move toward decentralizing public safety and renovating the Public Safety Center and get the police districts out in the communities where I believe that they can make the most difference. The same model that we've seen with our fire department. So thanks to the city manager, the staff, and everybody on this Public Safety committee for the direction, and I believe that we will soon make a large impact in our communities. Item G2.
Item G2, consideration of a request to purchase Taser Axon Flex cameras for officer use as a part of a transition from in-car cameras to body-worn cameras.
Chief Roundtree.
Good evening, Chairman Taylor.
Good evening.
Co-Chairman Burke, and members of the Public Safety Committee. We are currently in the replacement cycle for our in-car camera system. Due to the limited capabilities of the in-car camera system, of course, you're aware that the in-car camera is only going to record what's in front of the vehicle. Approximately 15% of the officer's daily activity is capable of being recorded through the mounted in-car camera system. We are proposing that we transition during our replacement cycle to a body-worn Taser Exxon Flex camera. Sergeant Wright here, he's going to give you a demonstration here shortly, but he's presently wearing one of the Taser Exxon Flex cameras on the right side of his head. The police department originally started installing in-car camera systems late 2006, early 2007, manufactured by Custom Signals. Presently, we have 206 Custom Signals in-car camera systems, and only 48 of those cameras presently have any type of warranty. Presently, right now, we're spending in excess of $76,000 per year just in maintenance. Due to the age of our in-car camera systems, we're unable to get replacement parts. Presently, we do have 40 Taser Exxon Flex cameras that are in use by our traffic enforcement unit, our downtown bike patrol, and also our DWI task force. We received quotes from Taser International where we can purchase between 100 and 800 flex cameras. What we're proposing is being able to purchase 95 cameras. We do have existing funding from our 2012-2013 camera replacement budget that we are proposing that we use to purchase 95 Taser Exxon Flex cameras. This will also come with a 3-year warranty and 3 years of evidence.com secure storage for these cameras. We feel that the benefits of our Taser Exxon Flex camera, number one, it will improve officer safety. It will improve our citizen and officer interactions. It will strengthen our judicial process because we'll be able to record more information that can be used to strengthen our cases in court. It also enhance our community relations and our perception in the community. And we've also seen that it has reduced citizen complaints. Sergeant Wright, before he was transferred to our training division over our fleet, his patrol squad also did a test, and he noticed several things from his squad that I'll give him an opportunity to explain here in a few minutes. And it also reduced our overall liability. That way, to cut down on some of the he said, she said, we'll have everything professionally recorded in a secure management system. So at this point, what I'll do is let Sergeant Wright come forward. He has a video of some of our existing footage, just so you can see that, and also we'll be glad to answer any questions that you have about the system.
Thank you, Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sergeant Ryan. I'm with the Winston-Salem Police Department. Talking about the body-worn cameras, like Chief said, approximately 10 to 15% of all of our activity is only captured by the in-car camera. Outside of the vehicle is where we conduct most of our police work. We're missing 85 to 90% of the story without having the on-body cameras with the officers. Rialto Police Department in California conducted a study where they gauged use of force complaints and citizen complaints over a period of February 2012 to February 2013. Over the year, they saw a reduction in use of force complaints by 59% and citizen complaints by 87.5%. With that being in California, with it being said, like the chief here in Winston-Salem, we're concerned, how does that affect us here in Winston-Salem? My squad, when I was still on the street, was the test squad for officers out on the street to wear the cameras. Over a 90-day period, I noticed that not a lot of complaints came in. Not that there was a squad that got complained on a lot, but just the small complaints of, like the chief said, a he said, she said type ordeal. When a citizen would call in and want to speak with me, I would tell them that the officer was wearing a camera, and sometimes the citizen would not want to talk anymore with me about the incident, or if I went back and reviewed it, it wasn't what the citizen said because the officer captured it on their camera that they were wearing. I also noticed that the officers acted differently. Not that they weren't well behaved before, but the camera is a constant reminder to the officer that somebody is going to be reviewing your actions. It is there for us to watch, not only to scrutinize our officers, but also to watch them and take away valuable training points from them. No use of force incidents resulted in a complaint either internally or externally from the officers who were wearing them. I also noticed that citizens responded differently to the officers who were wearing the camera. Once they realized that an officer was wearing the camera and they were being recorded just as well, not only were the officers responding in a much more professional manner, the citizens' reactions to the officers were different because they also knew they were being recorded as well. If they didn't know they were being recorded after the incident, if there was any issues that arose and I was able to show them the video, that usually took away any question by the citizen because their behavior was also captured on the camera as well. I'm getting ready to show you a video. The video's on this DVD. You'll notice that there's a 30-second pre-event buffer on it, much like our in-car cameras. The camera is constantly buffering inside, so if something happened and I activated my camera, it will capture 30 seconds prior to that. However, it will not capture audio. In some of the videos at about a 30-second mark, you might hear a loud beep. The reason that beep is so loud because internally the speaker and the microphone are right next to each other. We voice our concern to the manufacturer about that. It is, I apologize for it being annoying, but that's why it's so loud. It's not that loud to us when we wear it. There's different settings, but it does sound loud on the video. Some of the videos have been edited due to the cases may still be going to trial, and due to language, I tried to keep it as clean as possible for everyone tonight.
I think it's a G-rated show. Thank you. Yeah.
This is one of the first videos where there may not be any sound for the very first 30 seconds.
Ooh. Ooh. Wow. Yeah, I'm with you.
This one, I apologize, everyone, there's a bit of foul language here, so I apologize.
You tased him, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
See how honorable he is? He's like, okay, I got it. Put his hands back. He tore up too, probably.
9412 KLS, send me the supervisor reference tapes of deployment.
Are you okay?
Yeah. 9412 KLS, code 5.
Hey, fucking...
This one right here was one of the ones, the very first video, the officer was on patrol, saw the car door open and also saw the house door open, so he stopped because he thought that that activity was suspicious. That area, there had been a lot of house break-ins, so he got out to initiate contact to see if there had been a break-in. This one right here, that pre-event buffer again, the officer was behind that vehicle. They had handled a separate call within itself. The van began to back up. The officer put his hand up to let him know that he was behind there. And when the guy got out and started throwing the bicycle around, during that altercation is when the officer remembered to turn the camera on, and it went back and caught the events that we saw.
Crazy. What? Because they're pussies, that's why.
Really?
Oh, do you know right here, baby?
Sit on the thing. That's fine. You see this right here? It's a witness to it, too.
Good.
It's a witness.
If you get motion
Yeah,
sick,
yeah, but we got the camera
watching
now,
this
so
video of
she
the
can't say
officer
we
driving
treated
may
it
give you a
bad.
little bit of motion sickness.
So we treated
Or
it
not
bad.
this one, the next one, pursuit driving.
This is like cops on television.
Confirmed plate, North Carolina. Adam, Charlie, Adam, 1148.
It's a rather uneventful license check. However, the points to take home from this is when the officer does approach the vehicle, that you can see inside the vehicle and you can see what's going on, so you get an idea of what the officer sees upon his approach of the vehicle, not just from the stationary.
Afternoon, sir. Officer Bullis, Winston-Salem Police Department.
Pardon me?
Officer Bullis with the Winston-Salem Police Department. You know your tag's expired?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. I would have said no.
You didn't renew it? Is it having a problem with the inspection, or?
I changed the brakes on it, the back brakes. And
It's too late to get the story. You're supposed to have the story when you stop.
That's right.
This is funny.
That's right. That's right. You can't hold your tongue.
Where is this?
Bro.
That's right. Good imagery, yeah. That's right. It's been pretty quiet though all night. I mean, busy night, but we haven't had any trouble. Yeah.
I'm John.
Greg Martin.
Around.
Yeah. Good to meet you, John. All right.
It's funny to hear people talk. I've been laughing my head. That's funny.
At the back of the vehicle.
10-4. Show me code 1 response.
112, tell us, can you run that tag and tell us where it comes back to?
Unit C advised that the passengers are now on the expressway towards Farmer Road.
Yeah, Leslie, you talking about Motor Road extension?
We're still trying to get the information. How are you today?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Good. How much money did that guy just give you?
He told me I couldn't come in to go buy you something to drink.
Okay. Did you ask him for
No, I
it?
didn't ask you for nothing.
Okay.
You want more than
So
that?
if I ask him,
Go ask him. Go ask him. Go
All right.
Go ask him. Go ask him.
Hey, I need to talk to the guy that just gave him some money and make sure he didn't ask him for it. I need to talk to the guy. You sure? Alright. He just came out and gave us some money.
I got my own money. Go ask him. Go ask him.
Okay.
I couldn't come in to go buy you something. I got my own money.
So are you getting ready to leave?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to leave.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ask him.
They didn't want me to go ask him. They said he didn't ask you. That you didn't
I
ask him.
did that.
Alright, go ahead.
You want to check my bag down?
Just go on, Mike.
You have a good day, brother.
We'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. What we plan on doing is continuing our in-car cameras until they're actually non-functional. We're not going to take any out at this point.
Yeah, I think this was a good first-person view at some of the things that the police department experiences. And I know we want to provide you with those things that you need, not necessarily everything you want, but I can see on both sides of the coin how it would improve our experience from the police perspective and from the citizens' experience. Before I kick it to the table for discussion, I want to ask one question, Chief. How do we determine which officers will wear the cameras? And is there some kind of policy that might be in place on wearing them?
Right. We are presently updating our policy on body-worn cameras. As I stated earlier, we do have 40 body-worn cameras that we are using now. As far as the selection process, because we'll only outfit 95, we would do a survey of number one, some of our officers who receive a lot of complaints and concerns. They may be some of the first officers who receive them. Of course, there are 252 officers assigned to primary patrols, so all of the officers assigned to primary patrol will not get a Exxon Flex camera in the first batch, but we do hope to eventually be able to outfit all of our patrol officers. Also, we're looking at, in the future, outfitting our street crimes units and also our school resource officers, because there are a lot of activities that goes on in the schools, and we would like to capture that information that's going on in the schools also.
I think we're all excited to hear all of those answers. Councilmember Light.
Yeah. Two questions. One is the technology, which I don't understand. How can a camera go back 30 seconds before it's turned on?
Okay. I'm not that technical. I'll let Sergeant Wright respond, but our in-car cameras also function that way. There's a 30-second buffering, where once you turn the camera on, it can do a 30-second pre-event record. But I'll let Sergeant Wright explain that a little bit better to you.
Sergeant Wright?
Yes, like I said, it has a pre-event 30-second buffer. What the camera's doing constantly is recording the event. Even when it's not actually recording, it's not storing it to the internal memory, but it is keeping that, and it constantly rewrites itself. Kind of the easiest way to explain it would be like a video store surveillance, that after a certain period of time, after 24 hours, some store cameras just loop over again at a new 24 hours. However, with this capability, every 30 seconds when it starts over or prior to you pressing the button, it remembers the 30 seconds prior to that and records that information and adds it to when you press the record button so that it's stored. It just doesn't have the capability to store the audio as well, much like our current in-car cameras do.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I was just reading earlier today about questions having to do with invasion of privacy by these body-worn cameras. Have you all studied that problem?
I saw it at the end, Chief Roundtree.
Right, we have, we're working with our legal, also PERF, the Police Executive Research Forum. They are doing some studies across the country as far as the legalities and some of the concerns with body-worn cameras. Also, we're seeing that citizens are also recording police officers doing their activity as well. So the process goes back and forth both ways. But we are looking at that. We are keeping our eye on what PERF and some of the other law enforcement professional groups are saying about the body-worn cameras, along with our legal staff.
Thank you.
Constable Burton and Constable McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Roundtree, I enjoyed that presentation.
Thank you.
And the question was asked, how would you go about getting the cameras to some of the police? Well, I would think in the most serious areas where you have more confusion and misunderstanding and people having an opinion of the police department, I think if you could do it in an area like that, it would be a clearer understanding. And so I would hope you would consider that. And I'm pleased you would bring up something about the people, individuals taking pictures with their camera. And I think, to me, they invade my rights when I'm somewhere in a meeting, they start taking a picture, you understand? So I think when you get that report, then we'll see what's about the police and what about the citizens.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilmember Burke. Councilmember McIntosh.
Thank you, Chairman. I would think that there would have to be a pretty strong review of policies and a lot of new policies in regard to using this. When do you get rid of the data? Who gets to view it? I noticed that there is access anytime, anywhere to certain people, so I'd imagine those things will all be an HR nightmare, potentially. And another thing is, how does this affect rank and file morale? How do your officers feel about it? They look at it as a plus, or do they look at it as something that sort of handcuffs them and can come back to bite them?
I think initially we may have some may be skeptical of it. Like Sergeant Wright's squad, he can speak a little bit more about it if he chooses to do so, but his squad was actually a little skeptical about wearing the cameras. But once they started wearing the cameras, they saw the benefits of the cameras. Just like our present in-car camera system, we experienced the same thing, but a lot of the officers realized that the cameras actually saved them in so many senses and it didn't get them in trouble as they thought.
Council.
Is there any federal money to help us purchase these, or is this all coming out of local dollars?
Presently, right now, we're going to use the money that's allocated, that was allocated for our camera purchases for 2012, 2013. Presently, we haven't found any federal monies that would actually help us with the camera purchases. That's why we're just going to hold on the 95 at this point.
And is there any concern that this would potentially suppress citizen complaints? The fact that you're on camera, do you think it will have any impact on getting people to step forward in a situation, the fact that they're going to be recorded?
From what I've read and what I've seen and what I've heard from different police organizations, I don't think it will suppress complaints, but I think it will either prove or disprove complaints when citizens come in.
Thank you.
Councilman Montgomery has been waiting patiently.
I have a couple questions, well, several questions. Now, what is the life of the camera? I know it said it comes with a 3-year warranty, but what's the life of one of these cameras?
I'm not sure if there's actually a life defined, but if the camera is dropped, if it's submerged in water, if there's any damage to it during that 3-year period, the camera will be replaced at no cost to the city. But as far as the life expectancy, I'm not really sure. Sergeant Wright, do you know exactly what the life expectancy may be?
Sir, the life expectancy of the camera is much like any other current electronic piece of equipment that we have out on the market. Within the next 3 years, this piece of equipment will probably be replaced with another piece of equipment. Don't let that scare you away, though. In our pricing that we have from Taser, at the end of the 3-year quote that we have, they're going to give us all new equipment. There's other pricing available options out there. There was a 5-year that at 2.5 years they would give us new equipment, and at 5 years they're going to give us new equipment. So the life expectancy of it is going to be dependent on how well we take care of it. For 3 years, it's going to be covered bumper to bumper. The cameras that we currently have, as you look at the officer standing in the back, he's on downtown bike patrol. I don't know if he's been one of them, but I know as a direct contact with them and dealing with Taser International, if they have problems with the wire, this is probably the easiest part of the camera to break. We make a call to their warranty department, and they FedEx us wires out the next day. Taser really does a good job at maintaining the cameras. Anything that usually breaks with it is it's not really break, it might be a virus or just a bug in the program, and you can update it through the internet. There's bays at the police department, and it does a firmware update, much like your telephone does. As far as the durability and ruggedness of it, the downtown bike patrol officers have worn them, and other than the wires breaking, haven't had that much problem with them. Our motorcycle officers have had the camera fall off the magnet, and it was bouncing behind him on the highway, and a citizen rode up next to him and was pointing to the ground. The officer pulled the camera up. Other than a few nicks and scratches on it, it worked perfectly. They're not waterproof, they're water resistant. There is video out there on the internet of an officer in Florida being involved in a use of force incident where he has to dive into the swimming pool after using the CEW on a subject. The camera worked all the way into the pool. It wasn't until after they came out of the water and pressed the stop record button, and that allowed air into the internal components of it. That's when it stopped working. So it is a very rugged piece of equipment, and at the end of that 3-year contract, they're going to give us all new equipment, sir.
Okay. I know it also said that the storage of this is conducted by an outside, and so there's free storage for this for 3 years. Is there a cost for that storage after the 3 years, and what is that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There will be a storage fee after that. It'll be based on our retention of the data on there, and it certainly varies depending on our data of what we've stored. In the long run, what we have done is came in and had a digital evidence workload analysis done based on the time that officers spend driving back to the police department, having a DVD made, taking that DVD, driving it to the courthouse, encompassing wear and tear on vehicles, manpower of all the personnel involved, using evidence.com. This cuts down on how many people are involved in it, and I can share my video with the chief. If he's not at work, let's say he's on vacation, and an incident happens, I can share that video with the chief, and it is secure. There's an audit log on that shows who watched the video, and he can even go in there and add notes as to why he watched the video.
Okay, that answered actually my next question, was access to the information. It was also mentioned in terms that where they remembered to cut it on. So the ability to turn the camera on and off is subject to the officer themselves turning it on.
With the current technology, yes, sir. They are working at law enforcement agencies across the United States want the camera to be able to activate with the blue lights on there. When that blue light's inside of a patrol vehicle activated, they want that capability added to it. However, when you start adding features like that involve activating it through a Bluetooth service, obviously the cost of the equipment goes up. Right now, they're trying to keep the cost of the equipment at a lower price, but they are working on it, sir.
And then battery life of it. How long does this last the entire time a officer's on duty?
It depends on the quality of the video being recorded and if the officer keeps it paired in a Bluetooth mode. As long as they don't keep it paired in a Bluetooth mode, I have mine paired with my iPad. I can go in and look at my evidence. If the chief wanted to watch one of my videos, I could sync it to his smartphone or any smart device that is able to download the technology. Without it being paired in that, and depending on the quality of the video, you're looking anywhere from 4 to 12 hour. And the best way to describe it is, if you keep it on the lowest setting, it would be like watching a VHS. If you keep it in the middle setting, it's like watching a DVD. And at the highest setting is a Blu-ray. And maybe it's just my eyes, I can't tell the difference between DVD and Blu-ray. And the medium setting, you're getting about 8 to 9 hours of video, and it does last an officer's shift, and that would be 8 to 9 hours of constant recording.
Okay. I know I had a lot of questions, but
You did.
and I have a couple more. It was already asked in terms of the privacy side of that, and that was something I had as a question as well in terms of when can you use and when can you not do it. If you're coming to my home and I grant you access, but I don't want you to video, do you then cut that camera off coming into my house when I've granted you entry by request and you don't have a warrant to enter my house?
We're still looking at some of those things. We do know that the ACLU is in support of body-worn cameras. I think legally from the stance that we've seen and heard from across the country, if the officer is legally authorized to be there, and we're still doing some research on this, if a citizen comes and say, well, you come in but don't record, that's one of the things that we are still looking at on that end of it.
Okay, and then the last part of this is a comment in terms of the point of view that you get from this and then what you have in the car. It's just I know from having that upfront interaction, the only concern I have is that if you have an incident in which you have individuals who are involved in something where they're using force and they're immediately inside of that and you don't have another vantage point, what happens when you really don't see all that took place within that incident? Because sometimes it's good to have that up front that's there, but even in the sense of the scene that you saw with the officer there and the car that was there, there was some other stuff going on behind that you didn't necessarily get, but in that car, if it was sitting behind, you may have gotten that larger picture. And I know that you don't get everything on the car, you don't get everything on that, but how can we look at something that kind of combines both and approach? Because again, I think you may lose something in gaining something.
Right, there are trades-off to both. With the mounted in-car camera, of course, that's going to be a view directly in front of the car, over the hood. And with the body-worn camera, you'll get more of a officer's view. Now, to get that 360 view from all angles, I'm not really sure if that technology is available at this point. Now, what we will have, since we will have some existing in-car camera systems, we'll have the view from the in-car camera, and also we'll have the view from these 95 flex taser cameras, because some officers will still have both.
Councilman Adams.
Thank you, Chairman Taylor. When will citizens be made aware, the education, or when will they be made aware? Because everybody's not going to check 13 and look at the papers and the media. But when is it there's an officer, or will we let them know, made aware of the fact that they're being recorded? Do we just record and don't say anything, or do we tell them that, just so you'll know, for you, just like you let me know my rights, would you let me know when that you're recording the activities?
We wouldn't legally have to let them know I'm recording this event, just like with the in-car camera.
Okay.
When you make a traffic stop, that camera is constantly going at all times during that interaction. But what we like to do, if this is approved, we would like to have a public education campaign, letting the citizens know that this will be implemented real soon.
Very good. One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman. Are there any other areas, municipalities, in the area that are using this besides us now going that way? And what are they, if you know of, in North Carolina?
Again, we have 40 that we've been using for quite some time now. Greensboro, most recently, they had $125,000, I think it was, from a grant and also from their police foundation that they purchased body cameras. And they never had an in-car system prior to that, but they did just purchase body cameras.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Burke?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was going to say our people at the state, congressional people rather, they have also given funds, and we make a look at them if we do get this passed. They've been very good with that up technology. Also, Chief, I believe here you said one time that we wanted to bring our neighborhood groups and to involve them. I think this would be a good time in educating the public through the neighborhood groups with our CALs working very closely.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilmember Burke. Attorney Carmen, I will say, if you could get us as much information as you can get us with opinions from the School of Government or wherever else you can find some information on the usage of body cameras, it would be great. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, this item is for information only. It does not require action.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wish to speak on this matter? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And there's one person I did not recognize, and whenever you start calling names, you get into trouble. There's one department head, Mr. Mel Sadler, who's over our emergency management department. Mr. Sadler, welcome to the meeting, and I apologize for not calling you out a little bit earlier. Item G3, please.
Presentation of a summary of the emergency preparedness meeting held on January 21st, 2014.
Thank you. Mr. Sadler, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, while he's getting ready, may I just add something?
Councilmember Burke?
I've had the opportunity to see this earlier, and I want to say it was just so rewarding to have all of the people in public safety, city, county agencies come together to talk about how we're going to and what we're going to do to protect our citizens. And this is one of the last things that I wanted to have done as the public safety chair because we've been talking about it. And I've been saying to the city manager on occasions, are we ready? Do you feel that we can meet what we need to just in case something terrible happens? And of course he would say yes. I said, but I have to see it. So Mr. Page, along with Mr. Sadler and other public officials in public safety, it was a very excellent presentation. And I'm looking forward to hearing it again this evening.
Mr. Sadler, you couldn't have gotten a better introduction than
I
that.
sincerely appreciate that, but I hate to disappoint everybody, but we're going to just give a summary rather than go through the
Okay. In the interest of time, that may be the best method.
Right.
Councilmember Burke.
And as Councilmember Burke has already intimated, on the 21st of January, we did have an emergency preparedness meeting. And at that meeting, a number of agencies and personnel were brought together, and we talked primarily about two things. We talked about the resources that were available from the city and county agencies for assistance and mutual aid with the universities, and I'll show you a list in just a moment, and the others who were involved here in the city and the county. And we also talked about the ongoing multi-purpose, multi-agency school mapping project that's going on right now, and we'll talk a bit about that. Now, just briefly, these are a couple more pictures from that particular meeting. Oh. Well, we'll go the old-fashioned way. We can't get it to come back up for some reason. Oh, okay, there it goes. All right, this is a list of the attendees at that meeting. I won't go through it, but I'll give you an opportunity to take a review quickly. There are, as I noticed, a couple of acronyms in case you don't know who those acronyms are representative of, just raise your hand, and I'll be more than happy to explain them to you, who they are to you. We extracted some slides from the agencies that made presentations at the meeting, and we're just briefly going to look at those, a few of those representations. This is not their entire presentation. This is just a summary and a few slides from the presentation that they made. First being the Winston-Salem Police Department. They talked about the resources that they had available for the community, for use of the organizations and agencies that were at the meeting. And of course, the hazardous devices unit was first, and we talked extensively about the capabilities of that unit. We also talked about the SWAT team and the crisis negotiation team. These are two teams that are available for use from some of the community institutions and organizations from time to time. And of course, the one we're most familiar with is the traffic enforcement unit. They're always around, and they're available for increased scrutiny and other activities. The fire department was the second presenter, and we extracted a couple of their slides. First thing they talked about was their areas of specialty, things that the fire department does besides put out fires. And of course, it goes into hazardous materials response and some other things that they are capable of doing, and they talked extensively about the capabilities that they had. We did have a couple of graphic illustrations here. These, I believe, were exercises. Well, the one on the left, I think, is the actual incident, and the one on the right is an exercise. And they talked about schools, particularly. We talked about school drills and the assistance that the fire department can bring to the school environment, as well as, of course, the real actual fire in the school. We talked extensively about target hazards and risks. And you see those two illustrations there, of course, Winston-Salem State University and the Wake Forest University campus. And they talked about domestic preparedness lessons and the availability and capability of the fire department as far as bringing those bringing the information to the institutions who need it or would like to have it. We also had with us the Forsyth County Emergency Services Department, and they talked extensively about the toys that they have. And I thought that was great. We talked extensively about several resources that they have available to the community. One being the bus that we have, or that they have now, that's available. We can transport 21 patients at one time as opposed to a normal ambulance, so that's a tremendous asset to the community. And of course, this is available to the organizations that were at the meeting. We talked about the medical support unit. This, again, is designed for mass casualty incidents and treat up to 30 patients at one time with the equipment that's on that unit. Excuse me. We talked about the medical support trailer. Again, this is for mass casualty incidents and treat up to 75 patients at one time. I'm sure you recognize that they all can't be transported at the same time. There has to be some on-scene triage and treatment, and this is the way they carry out that mission. We talked briefly about the tactical medical team. This is a team of people that are available for use in addition to the SWAT team and some of the other capabilities of law enforcement. They work as a supplement to those law enforcement capabilities, or law enforcement resources, in order to assist in the medical needs, assist in their medical needs. And of course, they have another mobile command post, and that's available for either use as a command post or treatment center. We talked a few minutes about the emergency management itself and what that is. And I wanted to point out, of course, that the emergency management is not just what the people in our office do, it's what all the combined effort amounts to. So we're looking at a number of agencies, a number of capabilities, and a number of organizations that come together to respond to problems incidents in the community. We talked about the 3 layers of emergency management. There's a local level, there's a state level, and there's a federal level, and we talked a bit about that. We also talked about the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Emergency Operations Center. Why is it open? What do we do there? And who is going to be invited to come into that? And we'll talk more extensively about that later on. We also talked about training and exercise. This is an important element for outside agencies. Not only were the response agencies involved, but we also take our training and exercises into private agencies and private nonprofit agencies. And we assist them with training and developing of their plans and other means. Now, I'm going to introduce to you a member of the Winston-Salem State University Police Department, Captain Amir Henry. He's going to talk and give you a summary of the ongoing multi-agency mapping project that's going on right now.
Captain Henry?
Captain Henry.
wanted to thank Chairman Taylor, Vice Chairman Burke, along with the other council members for allowing me to be here. Again, my name is Amir Henry. I'm the patrol captain at Winston-Salem State University. Also wanted to thank the Geographic Office for allowing us to partner with them on this mapping project, and Emergency Management for getting with the other local agencies to push this project out there to the first responders. September of last year, Winston-Salem State conducted a live active shooter training on campus. Now with that, I was newly hired, and as an incident commander who was new to the campus, some concerns that I had were the accountability of the officers that I would have out in the field dealing with these emergency situations. So this would cause some problems also because I didn't know the geographical layout of the campus. So that would also affect response time. So what we tried to do was get blueprints and photos of all the buildings on campus. Because one of the things that I had in mind was there are other first responders who are out there who don't know the campuses, who don't know about the elementary schools and high schools. So what can we do to help them respond to these emergency situations? So again, we gathered that information and we got with the Geographic Office downtown, and what they did, they gathered that information and incorporated it into the maps they were already working on. So what would happen at that point is, once those maps got put out into the field, first responders would have access to areas that they're not always in. And if they had to go to some of these high schools or elementary schools, they would have photos and blueprints which will help them make better decisions out in the field. Now again, the map is not an answer to all emergency situations, but it's a great tool to have out in the field. Again, emergency management got a lot of these local agencies together to help work on this project. Without those other agencies, it really wouldn't be that successful because we need the input from fire, EMS, police department, sheriff's department to really make it successful. Again, this is just what one of the maps look like, and it's a little bit blurry, but you see that all of the buildings on campus are numbered. And next to those numbers, it is the name of each building. So if you were to click on one of those names, let's say Alumni Hall, a picture would pop up. This will help the first responder see at least what building it is that they're going to. If they were to continue clicking on that, the name of that building, a blueprint would also pop up. And this just helps the first responder see what it is that they're dealing with if it was a hostage situation or something along those lines. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Captain Henry.
We'd be happy to answer any questions at this point.
I saw Councilman Burke, then Councilman McIntosh.
You go ahead.
I didn't have a question.
Oh, you didn't have a
I
question?
thought I saw your hand kind of.
At this meeting, I was sort of surprised that mapping wasn't available in a lot of places. And I think when I had a conversation with Chief Norris about this mapping, so I could get a clearer understanding since it was something new, and I wanted to make sure our city, we had everything we needed to have. But what really concerned me was the school system. With all those schools, and when the person gave that report, he said it was they were trying to get out. Did they have them all? They were working to get them all. And being such a serious matter with all our children, our little jewels in these schools, I felt that that mapping is really updating us as we looked at, let's say, the city. Someone comes to City Hall. We know where all of us are if we need to get out of there. So I appreciate that information and how you share it to lift us, or put us in another level.
Councilman Blight.
Here's another technology question that I don't understand. Okay, is this available to all first responders, or will it be, I suppose?
It will be.
Okay.
First, the team has to get together to make sure that these maps are accurate.
And then it will, how will it be available to everybody?
That's being worked on right now. It's going to be in a PDF file, we believe, and most likely it's going to be loaded onto a server and be available through mobile computers. That's the ultimate goal. I should say it that way probably. That it be available through their in-car computers. We're not at that point yet. They have not quite developed that yet, but that's the ultimate goal of where we think we're going.
And the other question is, I mean, I can understand putting the schools first, as you say, but then there are manufacturing plants and all sorts of businesses and whatever. Is the ultimate goal to have pictures of every?
We don't think we'll be able to do that. However, we will be moving out from the schools. We're going to move out to the hospitals and some of the other major nonprofit facilities. I don't know that we'll be able to get into a situation with private facilities. Perhaps somebody might take that on to do at some point. I mean, at a cost, of course. But we have to recognize that we just can't. We're constrained, and we can't just do everything. But our ultimate goal, of course, is to go to the hospitals and some of the other nonprofits at this point.
Councilman McIntosh.
In my experience working with the development review process, I'd say the fire department's out in front of everybody else on this, and my kudos to them. It's an area, it's a capability that I think we're looking for across departments, so that every department could pull up as-built plans. It fits in with change of use, it fits in with lots of things. So just again, my congratulations for you guys getting out in front of this and kind of showing everybody else how to do it.
Very
good. I believe the person from the school system was saying that they were trying to get some funding. Am I correct, Mr. Page? He was saying something about trying to get the funding and that they had put aside a little funding, if I understood him right. But this was a plus for us to be moving like we are.
Well, fine job, Mr. Seller. Fine job, Captain Henry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You know, I believe that emergency management should be seamless. And there's lots of organizations and groups that should come to the table to make sure that we're safe. We never want to have an emergency situation. But based on what I've read and what I've heard, in the event that there is an emergency situation, the city of Winston-Salem and all of the surrounding partners are prepared. Are there any other comments?
I'm going to say this real quick.
Please do.
I'm sitting on the trustee board at Winston-Salem State University, and I believe Chief Norris has done a step ahead, and she's like an example for folks as a model around the country, and she's been commended by the trustee board members for what she has brought to that table. And what I've said is this: one thing about the city of Winston-Salem, we want to have the best. So she's sharing where she's been trained right here in this city. So we thank you.
Is there anything else for the good of the order? If not, we will consider this meeting of the Public Safety Committee to be adjourned. Thank you.